What's up? It's hashtag homeless. It's day 61. And so I don't even know. Right before I sat down to do this video, I got a call from the federal probation office in Pittsburgh, who I have to call back. Very friendly call, left a message. I'm going to do the video first. I'm going to go to the library and then I'm going to make this call back. But now that I'm just about to get a job in now that I'm just about to get a job in Jamestown, it would have been, from what I was told at the interviews yesterday, I might have to wait a week, maybe 2 weeks, but they've got a place to, it's a temp agency, they've got a place that they can send me and I'd be making like probably 17, 18 bucks an hour. So, but now the Pittsburgh office wants to find out when I'm coming down there. And so like, they're just gonna rip the rug out from under me once again. This will be at least the third time. But if God wants me to go to Pittsburgh, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So I'm going to have a talk with it. She seemed very nice, very friendly over the message. So I'm going to let her know, exactly what's going on. Tell her everything that there is to tell. And in my opinion, my biggest obstacle from going to Pittsburgh right now is having a place to live. I don't have one. I don't have anybody down there who will let me stay with them. I do have places where I could live right now. I don't have to be homeless. They're not letting me move to the places where I could live with somebody. And I'm not sitting here accusing them of wanting me to be homeless. It's just government bureaucracy at this point. And I'm caught in the middle of it. And I don't feel like these people are trying to pull the rug out for me on purpose. I think they're trying to help. I have said to my probation officer here that I would much rather live in Pittsburgh than Jamestown. So they're just rolling with what I said when it comes down to it. And so hopefully this is all going to work out. But it just seems like every time I get something like an improvement in my life, something else comes to rip it away. And so I'm not going to try and think too far ahead because I did get this room at the homeless shelter and it's helping. It's helping a lot with my mental state. I think that the number one thing that used to get on my nerves about living there was the fact that they make us go to bed at a certain time, 11 o'clock at night, and it's like, you have to go to bed. And I'm just not, that's not easy for me. And so, now I can stay up a little bit later, and I can turn on a computer, and I can, so last night, I was working on some graphic design work, some really cool poster designs, and I just decided, let's do something, I'm going to do something fun. And, but it was kind of like a way to put me to sleep too. I took a melatonin at around 11 o'clock, and by midnight, I was ready to go to bed. But I got a couple hours in, I put on a couple podcasts, put in my headphones, did like 2 hours worth of work, and moved the ball forward on that project. And so, and it helped me get tired enough to like, once I turned off my computer, I'm like ready to go to bed. Not being forced to go to bed, and it's just an extra hour when it comes down to it. So just having that little bit of extra freedom to just not have to go to bed at an exact time, and like, if I want to stay up till 12:30 working on some stuff, I can do that. But yeah, so yeah, that kind of threw me off this morning. Once again, I had some stuff. I started talking about some stuff yesterday, and so much stuff happened after the fact that I don't even know if I'll get back to that. The notes are just piling up to where I would have to do a 4-hour show just to cover it all. And, you know, nobody's got that long of an intent. Nobody's attention span is that long on YouTube. So I'm going to switch over and just talk about some random stuff. You know, covered the what's going on right now situation. And, but yeah, I'm totally fine with going to Pittsburgh. So I'm going to call this woman when I get a chance. But I want to do it at the library so I can take notes. I don't want to do it from the park here. Library doesn't even open for another hour at least. So I'll give her a call. Maybe something good will come out of that call. Maybe they've got some resources. Maybe they can help me out a little bit. And I feel, so when I applied to some of these temp agencies here in Jamestown, I noticed that they also had offices in Pittsburgh. And so for one of them, I was able to simultaneously apply to the Pittsburgh offices. They had 3 locations in Pittsburgh. And so I picked 2 of those that were central to where I would probably be located. And I simultaneously applied here in Jamestown and Pittsburgh. And one of the people from Pittsburgh called me yesterday and left a message. I just couldn't return the call, saying that they have tons of jobs. Here in Jamestown, they might have a job or 2 in the next week or 2. That was the difference. And there's just more going on down there. And so I feel like if I do go to Pittsburgh, I feel like I can get a job quickly. But anyway, let's just go down the list of notes, because there's more to talk about on the job front and what happened yesterday and all that kind of stuff. And but anyway, let's see. We'll talk about politics for a minute, just a minute. Trump, he picked his vice president, J.D. Vance. I don't know anything about him. The only thing I really know about him is that they showed a picture of his home on the news. I guess, his motorcade came to pick him up at his home. And, it's just some big, giant mini mansion surrounded by a fence and a white gate for the entrance. And I thought, that pretty much tells me all I need to know about this guy. Just another rich guy who's going to do whatever, needs to be done to help his fellow rich guys. And, I feel like Trump picked him. I feel like the only reason Trump picked this guy Vance was so they wouldn't have to pay a graphic designer a whole lot to remake all the signs. Just take all the signs from 2020 and turn the PE into VA and change the 0 to a 4, and they'll be great. They'll be great. So, yeah, the graphic designer didn't have to do much to change the signs. Just change the PE in Pence to VA for Vance and change that 0 to a 4. 2020 to 2024, you're done. Good. Got the signs. So, yeah. Let's see. Today, this is kind of cool. I've read numerous stories about lots of Democrats are losing their jobs this week. And a lot of businesses are getting blasted on Yelp and Google Maps, basically because of the people and their comments wishing that the guy that shot Donald Trump didn't miss. A lot of people are losing their jobs. A lot of people's businesses are getting boycotted because the pendulum swung as far as it's going to go to the left, and now it's going to swing the other direction. I think the Democrats, you've had your fun, and now it's time to go the other way. And the way you guys have been treating people for the last 8 years, it's just, attacking all the people that you disagree with as severely as you've been doing, burning down cities, saying whatever you want. I have a feeling those days are coming to a close. Jack Black, his Tenacious D tour, it seems like that's getting canceled because of the stuff that he said, wishing that the shooter didn't miss. And so, none of these people are going to prison, but, maybe I'll see you guys out on the streets while I'm walking around homeless, and we can all have I don't even know. I don't know if I'll even hang out with you guys, but good luck. Unfortunately, the pendulum, when it swings the other direction, it's going to be so much worse for you guys than what you've been dishing out to the other side for the last 8 years. And because that's what always happens. That's what always happens. And I can't even say that makes me feel good. Yeah, it's cool to watch the other side getting a taste of their own medicine, especially after all the stuff I've been put through. It's kind of fun to watch that. But in the end, I'm not feeling good, because it's just a never-ending fight. And our country's just going to remain a dump as long as this stuff keeps happening. Back and forth, and back and forth. And, it's this divide and conquer tactic that the leaders use. They want us fighting with each other all the time and hating each other, because if we're busy doing that, we're not looking at them and what they're doing at the top. They're going to get to go to whatever island replaced Epstein Island, and they're going to get to go do what they do with no eyes watching them, because everybody's fighting with each other over dumb shit. It's back and forth, just like Israel and Israel's neighbors. It will never stop. But I'm afraid what's going to happen is that once that pendulum starts to swing the other direction, you're all going to start calling me a Democrat again, like you did when George W. Bush was president and I was speaking out against what he was doing, because the pendulum's going to swing so far in the other direction, it's going to suck for everybody. And they're going to go back to taking everybody's rights away. And, I'll start getting censored on social media, here on YouTube and whatever other platforms that I'm being like the real me, because, it's just going to happen. It's just going to go the other direction. So anyway, that's politics for today. Not too bad. I'm going to talk about, I got some good comments from you guys over the last couple of days, and I'm just going to kind of go through those for a minute. We'll talk about that. Jonathan Farnham 4884. I guess there's a lot of Jonathan Farnhams on YouTube. So this one's number 4884. He says, God loves you. Do not despair. Many are with you and praying for you, and I appreciate that. I can see that in the comments, and boy, I really do. That does help a lot. Your support really helps me keep my head level and helps motivate me to do the things that I need to get done. So, moving on. We all have fallen short of God's perfection, haven't we all? We are all under grace who are in Christ Jesus. Comforting thought. You are in a fight for your life. Literally. You have been at it for, say, 60 days. As horrendous as any of the great wars were, both of them did end, and there was peace. Furthermore, try to develop a state of mind where your peace is inside you, not external. Your peace comes from knowing Christ. Focus on eternal things. You have a place in heaven. This life will be in your past, and you will be surrounded by people who love you. We can't fix this world, but we can be the light and the salt. Pray for others. Try to calm down. Breathe. Don't accept bad behavior and then normalize it. You are part of the few who are on their way to heaven. Many go somewhere else. This is not your home. Act like you are in the Father's presence. Godspeed. And, thanks for that. That was a good comment, and I'm glad you showed up to say it. There's a lot in there, and I don't know if I have time to cover it all, but I pretty much agree with what you're saying. I expressed my opinions about what happened on Saturday before I went to church on Sunday. And, I dropped 1,000 F-bombs over the target in the span of 20 minutes. Just carpet bombed the place with F-bombs. And, I let it out. And none of those opinions are any different. I think that whole thing was an inside job. There's more information coming out. Tons of information that's just mind-boggling that I'm not going to, I mean, we don't got to list it out. But when the Channel 11 News in Pittsburgh is running stories that are just, some of these stories are just, if you can't see that this was an obvious inside job, that the Secret Service colluded with whoever to take out Donald Trump, then, man, you're blind. But I got other things to do this week. So, I mean, I have my moment to vent about that stuff, but I got other things to worry about. So, I mean, like I said, I'm still not voting. I don't care about voting. I saw like I said, I saw the vice presidential guy get picked, and all I needed to see was the mansion he came walking out of, and, the motorcade that came to pick him up, and I'm like, yeah, he's just one of them. I don't need to know anything else. None of these people are doing anything for you and me. They don't care about us. They care about them. So, let's see. An Ass Adventures 111. An Ass Adventures. I don't know what kind of adventures that's all about, but thank you for the comment. He's a first-time viewer, and he said, what about the library or the church? And he also says, I'm glad you're a believer in Jesus and you're in his word. Well, this guy or this gal was talking about the lack of a silent place in Jamestown that I was complaining about the other day, and then it hit me. I do have a correction to make, because there's one place in the whole city of Jamestown that is a quiet place. Whenever I'm in the place, it's so quiet that I can hear my ears ringing so badly that it makes me realize how much the damage a lack of a quiet place is doing to me right now. And, the library is about as close as it gets overall, but it's really not quiet in there. It really isn't. There's all kinds of loud stuff going on inside the library. There's like a quiet section, but the loud section is so loud that it really doesn't matter. There could be screaming babies over in the loud section. There could be the guy who sits around complaining about Trump all day. He's really loud. There's a few other people that get really loud. So it's not that quiet. It's quieter. This park right now is quieter than the library usually is. But, that's just here or there. But inside the library, there's this little soundproof booth that I use whenever I need to do a Zoom meeting or something like that. And I think that counts as a quiet place. And I can't believe I forgot about it that morning I was complaining. I think that was yesterday. It's probably because I'm looking for a quiet place when I'm outside, and that my mind was focused on trying to find a quiet place in Jamestown that's outdoors, where I can sit and do these videos. I could sit in the library and do these videos, but the problem is, it's not a problem. You have to reserve the soundproof booth. And it's not a problem. It's easy to do. But I don't want to reserve it every single day and spend 2-3 hours a day in this little booth. But if you watch the live stream that I recorded with that guy, Truth Tiger, a few days back, I was in the soundproof booth when I was doing that live stream, because it was really the only place in town that I could think of where I could do something like that. So, Joe Law 13 says, bro, I know we disagreed in the comments yesterday, but I want you to know that I'm rooting for you. And all I got to say about that is, no worries, bro. I never take anything people say in the comments personally. I've been an artist my entire life. So, I mean, do you have any idea how often people will tell you that you suck when you're a creative for a living? I would have killed myself a long time ago if I cared about what people think. So, this is the free speech zone as far as I'm concerned. If anyone makes your comment disappear, you can ask the folks at Google and YouTube who did it. Well, you can't, because I don't think they have a phone number, but I don't delete people's comments. I don't care what you say. But if they disappear, go look into them, because that's what they do. They're, Google plays all kinds of games. YouTube, owned by Google. They play all kinds of games. Marcus Leja 7133 left a comment saying, Jamestown sounds like a great backdrop for a Quentin Tarantino movie, and I would have to agree with that. I've traveled. I've walked, cycled through some of the worst neighborhoods in America. I've been through the slums of Philly, Baltimore. Speaking of Baltimore, at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City, I saw a gigantic portrait the size of a giant museum wall. I'm talking about 20 feet tall by however wide. And when you walk up close, it was kind of like one of those portraits made out of magazine covers, you know, where you see the portrait from far away and it looks like a person's face, but up close you see all the individual magazine covers. Except this portrait was made out of crack baggies that this artist found laying on the ground in Baltimore. He found so many of these little crack baggies laying on the ground that he made a 20-foot tall portrait of somebody out of them. And think about it. He had to find them in all sorts of different colors and shades, and then he had to group them and sort them by color, and he had to have enough colors and tones to put the portrait together. So, and the funny thing is that when you get up close and you look in some of the bags, some of these bags still have little crack rock crumbs in them. So, you know, if some crackhead could ever afford to get into the Museum of Modern Art, he'd be able to get his fix just by ripping this portrait apart. I'm not kidding. That's how bad Baltimore is in the ghetto. Let's see, I've been to Miami. I bought Gatorade and snacks by passing my money through the slot under a bulletproof glass window in the ghettos of Miami. And to be honest, I've never seen a bulletproof glass window here in Jamestown, anywhere. I don't think any of these businesses can afford windows, let alone a bulletproof one. But aside from that, I've been to Buffalo, New York, the state of Kentucky, especially the eastern parts where the Daniel Boone Forest is and people speak like Boomhauer. I've seen some crazy shit all over America. San Francisco, the bad parts of San Francisco, New York City, Camden, across the river from Philly, and New Jersey. Been all over St. Louis. I've seen a lot of cities. And in spite of all that, I stand by my statement that Jamestown's the most dysfunctional place I've ever seen. I mean, I may have some bias based on my current situation, but even when I was a high roller, riding around town with my ex-girlfriend that lives here, I was always in shock. And the stories that she told me always backed up my shock about how crazy this place is. And then Jamestown's one of the biggest contrasts between rich and poor that I've ever seen, other than maybe like Miami. Because when you're in Miami, you see rich people riding around in their $1 million cars and riding around on their boats, docked at their waterfront mansions. And then 5 minutes later, you're walking through Bidentown, the tent city, knee-deep in trash and human excrement. So the difference is that Jamestown doesn't have anything worth coming here for. Miami does. Even if you're rich, there's nothing worth coming to Jamestown for. I mean, there's this weird gated community called the Chautauqua Institution where all these rich assholes own multi-million-dollar crummy homes on this lake shore so they can all hang out with each other for 3 months out of the year, and they listen to lectures from each other. And then they leave. And that's the only thing they do here. And they terrorize the town. They drive around treating everybody like garbage. They went over to Wegmans, the local grocery store, and tried to get Wegmans to close their doors for everybody in town except for them, except for members of their exclusive community. And Wegmans told them to go pound sand. But that's the kind of people they are. But here's the thing. If I had $10 billion in the bank, that's the last place on earth I would ever spend my money. A lakefront home next to a sewage and seaweed-infested dump of a lake in a dysfunctional town that drove Lucille Ball and Natalie Merchant to the other side of the country so that they could be successful in their lives? No, thank you. I'm cool on that. So let me see what time we're at here. I got like a few more minutes left. So yeah, I'll talk about the job front some more since I started with that today. I had 2 interviews yesterday, and then some more stuff happened. The first interview was at a temp agency, and when I got there, the receptionist asked me to look on my phone for a link from an email that she sent me after I arrived. And then she expected me to fill out all these job forms, a big stack of job application and employment forms online using my cell phone. Right there, while I'm standing at the receptionist desk, she expected me to pull out my phone and do it right there in front of her. And I'm looking at her with this look on my face. I'm like, are you out of your mind? Like, I don't know how many of you have ever filled out an online job application, but that stuff's real difficult to do with a laptop, let alone a phone. And a lot of these forms and a lot of these systems don't work on a phone. And so I'm sitting there with this look on my face. You really want me to do this now while I'm standing right here? And she said, yes, you need to do this before we'll even talk to you. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I asked her, I said, can I use my laptop instead? And she was cool with that. She gave me the Wi-Fi password and everything. And so I went over and found a little desk to sit at. And it took a half hour to fill out this stuff on a laptop. And I can't even imagine how long it would have taken if I had to do it on my phone. That would have been a nightmare. And so she says to me, well, that's good that you brought your laptop because some of these documents won't even load on a phone. And I'm like, really? But you wanted me to sit here and do it on my phone? Okay, fine. But anyway, I'm thinking, why do you ask people to sit there and do it right in front of you on the phone? You could ask people to do this before they come in. I could have had this done. I could have done this the day before and had it done before I even walked in the door. But anyway, aside from that, the person who interviewed me, she was really cool, really professional. She had a row of these little squeaky toy ducks along her cubicle wall, and I knew what that meant right away. I asked her, I said, so you drive a Jeep? And sure enough, she said she does, and so we had a good rapport right off the bat. And but really no jobs came out of it right then and there. But she said if I call her back on a weekly basis, they'll keep looking for something and call me when they have something. And usually these places, when they get something and they call you, they're pretty much expecting you to, it's kind of like a next day kind of thing. They're going to be like, can you start tomorrow? So, that's cool. That's another iron in the fire. It'll be a quick process. Everything's done. If they find me a job, I won't even have to go back to that office. I'll just report to work the next day. So it was kind of the same thing with the second interview. Another temp agency. I walked in and they asked me to fill out all these forms. Same deal. These ones took even longer, but at least they have their own computers. They had these desktop computers set up in a room for people to sit and do this. But like I said, the process was even longer. So I grabbed my own laptop and I used my own laptop to do it. And it sped up the process quite a bit. They basically wanted me to copy and paste my entire resume into a bunch of form fields. And, which I'd already done when I applied to the company in the first place. So I don't know why I have to do it again. But it took about 45 minutes to go through this whole thing. But I just did it on my laptop. And once again, this woman, she was really nice, very professional. We got into a conversation about my felony conviction. And once again, the reaction that I got from her was, oh my God, you're kidding me. The government did that to you for that? Wow, man, this government's out of control. That's crazy. I can't believe that happened to you. And, I get this all the time. So anyway, she said that she has a company that she sends people to almost every week. And this is like a permanent position, not maybe the company has a high turnover. I don't know. But she says she sends a group of people there almost every week. So she's going to put me on the list for that. They won't do a background check or anything else. They just want bodies on the floor. And she said within a week or two, I would probably be sent over there. And then she hands me a cup to go to the bathroom and take a pee test. And I'm like, because I was completely dehydrated. I know I've talked about this on this channel quite a bit about how when you're homeless, you don't want to drink water because there's nowhere to go pee. And it's really difficult to find a place to pee. So I was dehydrated. I had gone to the bathroom before I went on this interview, so I didn't have to go at all. And she was really cool about it. No problem. She said I could come back later or come back tomorrow. She didn't care. She just said I had to get it done before they could send me to a job. And so I'm like, well, just give me the cup. I'll go see what I can do. And so it took about 10 or 15 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes at least I'm in this bathroom. And finally I was able to leave enough in the cup to walk away and be done with it. And that was nice because now I don't have to go back. I don't have to go through that nonsense again. And so we're good. Done. But I cannot pee on command even when I have to go to the bathroom. Like, for me, honestly, out of all the things in prison, that was the worst thing in all of prison that I experienced is when they'd make me do a drug test because you got some guy just staring at you, yelling at you to go pee on command. And not everybody can just do that. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one I knew in jail who had a hard time with that shit. I wish they would really come up with a different way to test for drugs than trying to make people pee on command and then yelling and screaming at you when you can't do it. This one guy in Butler County, when I was in that jail, not too far from where Donald Trump just got shot, he was telling me that if you're on probation in that county, in Pennsylvania, when you go in to take your drug tests, they make you strip completely naked, and you have to stand in the doorway of a bathroom or something, holding your hands up to a bar. You have to put both hands on this bar above your head, buck naked, and then they reach over, they put a cup in one of those little grabber extension arm things that the old people use to pick up trash off the floor when they can't bend over, and they put a cup in it, and then they hold the cup under your dick, and then you have to piss in this cup with some weirdo holding the cup under your balls with a freaking grabby thing while they're yelling and screaming at you to pee in the cup. And all I'm saying is if that were me and they were telling me that that's what I have to do, I would just hold out my hands and say, go ahead, put the handcuffs on, take me back to prison, because there's no fucking way I can do that. No way. There's no way that any drop of pee is going to come out of me when during this retarded shit show. There's no way. So anyway, that was the job interviews. I came back from that mess, and there was a message in an email from the HR recruiter at the software company I've been interviewing with for over a month. And she told me that they're moving forward with the process, which was awesome to hear. And she asked me if I could send her my professional references. And I was able to send a bunch of them right back to her within like 10 minutes of her calling me. But another problem, like it's just another hoop to jump through, and I don't know if I can jump through this one. She was asking me specifically for people who were my supervisors and my bosses at various companies I've worked for. And I can tell you, since 2015, for the last 10 years almost, every time I work for a company, the supervisor that I'm working for, they say right up front when you start working for them that when you leave the company, they're not going to let you use them as a reference. That's the new thing now. Because of all the lawsuits and because of all the liabilities that people can run into, the tendency now is for people not to want to give references. So that is a problem. I don't know if it will be a problem. I sent her the references that I have, and that was the best I can do. And then I got on LinkedIn last night and I reached out to a few people who I've worked for in the past, but it was a long time ago. And so, there's a shelf life on professional references. If you worked for someone 10 years ago, there's a good chance that they're not going to want to give you a reference anymore because it's not like we were friends. It's not like we talked to each other and kept in touch for 10 years after the fact. So there's a shelf life on these things. And so I don't know. I just, references are just, they're not very useful. Like I said, people are very reluctant to give them out these days. And in my opinion, asking for them is a useless endeavor of a bygone era. It's ridiculous to ask people to give you a list of friends that this person is already vetted and verified that will speak highly of them. Like, what are you actually going to learn about that this person has a few friends? That's all you're going to learn by asking for references. Companies just, if you call your former boss at such and such company, they're not going to want to give you a reference because there's liability and all kinds of stuff. And that's the rule of thumb now, to not give references to former employees. So the only references that I have are people that I'm actually friends with, or people that I really got along with, who I know on a personal level to some extent and are totally fine with, giving me a good word. But some of these aren't current. And that's all I'm going to say. It's hard to get references these days, and I don't think they do much and all I'm going to say is, in my case, a simple Google search is going to bring up more juicy bits than a list of my friends. But whatever, let them do what they're going to do. Like I said, I reached out to some people last night, and they reached back and said, I don't have anything against you. You did a good job and everything, but it's been so long, I don't feel like I can give you a reference. And, it's not as relevant as it should be. And I said, yeah, that's fine. Thank you for, getting back to me. I understand completely. I'm just, the worst thing that somebody could have said was no. So, and it wasn't that bad when they said no. I would be weird if some random person reached out to me who I haven't seen in 10 years and said, can I use you for a reference? It depends on who it is. I could definitely say yes to, there aren't that many people I would say no to for something like that myself. But, this is a bygone era. This is just, I don't understand why people do that anymore. It's just a human resources thing. It's literally just people who work in human resources they're different. They're different than the rest of us. And so, but anyway, I'm still in the running for this job. This might mean that the interviews are over with and they're taking the next steps. Maybe they'll get an offer letter. My biggest fear right now is that they're going to do a background check. But yesterday, when I was talking to the woman at the temp agency, she told me specifically that if they do a background check on me, which they might, she said, I'm going to be the one reviewing it. And based on what you've already told me, I don't care. She said some of the companies that we send people to, they might care. But she said, as far as I'm concerned, if I can't send you to this company or that company, I'll still send you on jobs. I'll still look for a job for you. I'm not going to let that background check. If that's the only thing that you have to worry about on there, you don't have anything to worry from me. I'm the one who reviews them. And so, that's fine. So all of these things yesterday gave me a little more hope at the end of the day. Certainly more hope than I had when I started out yesterday. And really, that's all I can hope for right now. If I end up getting the software job, I'm not going to get a big head on my shoulders. I'm really not going to be anything but completely grateful beyond words, because honestly, if I get that job, the money involved will immediately solve my problems with 1 or 2 paychecks. My problem of finding a home, my problem of going to Pittsburgh, my problem of getting a vehicle. Another paycheck, I can pay off my federal fines in one swoop. And then I'm in a very good position to ask for early release from probation when I'm eligible for it. Probably another 7 months, I think, I'm eligible to file a motion to have early release from my probation. And I've been told that there's a decent chance that could happen, especially if I wait another 6 months after I'm eligible. I'll be halfway through probation, and there's a good chance that they could drop it and let me go live my life, especially if I haven't caused any problems and I'm able to put my life back together and do everything that I'm supposed to do. So, and if Trump makes it to this election without getting his head blown off, I'm probably going to file for some sort of commutation or a pardon or whatever would work to help with my situation, because, he's gone out and said he's going to set all the January 6th people free. So why not? Why not try? I mean, the worst thing that can happen is he says no, or he completely ignores it. And at the end of that day, I'm no worse off for it than I already am. So all I'm saying is all I'm saying is that I've learned it never hurts to ask. The worst that can happen is nothing. But the best that can happen is that when you ask for something, you get what you ask for. So, which that leads me to the donate front. The link to the donation page has been disabled. I tried logging back into my PayPal account yesterday and I was still locked out. But don't worry, all the money that was in the account was transferred successfully to my bank account, so no money got lost. But this person on the phone, once again, she couldn't resolve my issue, gave me the runaround, and so I demanded that they close my account. And she closed the account for me, and I got an email confirmation from them that the account was closed, and then I went and confirmed that donate page is no longer showing up. It shows up as invalid. So now there's no possibility that anybody's money is going to end up in that account. They even went and told me that now that they closed the account, I can go open a new account with the same email address and the same phone number, and I shouldn't have any issues with the new account. And maybe down the road I'll try that just to have it. Because like I said, in the prepper world, 1 is none and 2 is 1. And right now I have none. But right now I'm just going to let sleeping dogs lie and see if I can get away with never having a PayPal account again. I looked at the stock photography websites that I sell photos on, and there are 2 other options to get paid aside from PayPal. One's an app called Payoneer, and the other one's called Skrill. I've never heard of either one of these, but I can look into them and see if I can set those up. But right now, the PayPal account is dead. No longer exists. I kept my cool on the phone. I'm in the library. I didn't want to become a member of the same club as the guy who complains about Trump all day, so I kept it at a very low volume, just above a whisper. Very polite, very firm, very obnoxious, but polite. I've never been a fan of PayPal, not at all. And, that sentiment has been expressed numerous times in the comments to these videos. So, I even looked on PayPal's community page, the message board that's the marketing. The community is the marketing term for the message board that exists for when the customers become unpaid technical support for companies like PayPal. And people have been complaining about the same issue since 2016 and further back than that. And that issue is if your phone is not in your name, as in your T-Mobile, your AT&T, your Verizon bill, if it's not in your name, then you are not allowed to have a PayPal account, according to them, according to their terms of service. People from phone companies were on these threads saying that it happens all the time, and they get calls from customers complaining about PayPal and wondering if there's anything AT&T can do, and they can't. But basically, if you're on a family plan where the phone is in the husband's name or your father's name or whatever, you'll get to a point where you can't access your PayPal account and you'll get locked out because the phone's not in your name. Even if the child is 20 plus years old and still on the family plan. I was paying my 27-year-old daughter's cell phone bill when I was arrested, because I'm her dad and I like helping her out. And she never told me she had any issues with PayPal, but maybe she never tried using PayPal. I don't know. So anyway, my best friend who I got this phone from, he went into his account and he added my name to the phone line, and I don't even know what that means, if it's like a caller ID thing or something like that. So maybe that would help. I don't know. Like I said, PayPal said I can open a new account with the same email address and the same phone number, and I should be able to log in. But I have my doubts. And so I don't know. I think I'm going to go try something else before I go there. The other apps that I know about are Square, which I already have an account with, but I haven't used it for a long time. There's Chime, Venmo, Stripe. There's an app called Buy Me a Coffee that some of the content creators use. And then some of the artist payment platforms like Payoneer and Skrill. I don't know. And there's others too. But that's 8 right there. So I'm just going to go through the list and see what I can come up with. So either way, I need to set up some other options. I'll let you know when I fix the situation. The URL will be exactly the same, donate.litgood.com, because that's my domain name and I control where those things point. So right now it points to the defunct, dysfunctional donate page on PayPal that no longer exists. But I can switch that in less than a minute once I set something else up. So with that said, I know I have taken up enough of your time today, and we're definitely past the moment where I should have cut off. And so I'm going to leave it there. I'll give you guys the update tomorrow. I didn't even get to pick up where I left off yesterday, and I still want to do that. Today should be a less eventful day, but who knows? Every day right now is crazy. So, tune back in tomorrow. The subscriber count has pretty much completely stalled. The views are down. Everything's gone down since Trump got shot in the head. I think people are watching other things this week and paying attention to other things, and that's fine. Those things happen. I'm less than 40 subscribers away from the holy grail of 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And right now, the way things are looking, it might take longer to get those 40 subscribers than it took to get the 960 that I already have. So anyway, that's all I got to say for today. And hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.